Welcome to the Healers Café, conversations on health and healing with Manon Bolliger, a retired and deregistered naturopathic physician with 30 plus years of experience. Here you will discover engaging and informative conversations between experienced healers, covering all aspects of healing, the personal journey, the journey of the practitioner, and the amazing possibilities for our own body and spirit.
So welcome to the Healers Café. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Phil Steward. And he's going to tell you a little bit more about his life and his accomplishments. But if I can sum it up somewhat, it looks like he has developed his own healing massage technique. And he's trained by all kinds of amazing schools and people, the Oxford School of Massage, the Northern Institute of Sports Massage, as well as studying Ayurvedic massage in India, advanced manipulative theory at the Midland School. And then he studied Bowen technique with some of our great masters like Graham Pennington, Ron Felon, Alistair McLaughlin, and John Wilkes, and Romney Smeaton, I can't forget him.
Can't get Romney, no, can't get Romney.
Yeah, some of the amazing healers in that therapy. So welcome, and I'm super excited because I love Bowen therapy, and as you know, I've been doing it for 30 years, and it's just an incredible thing. But let's start with what got you interested in any of the field of healing?
Okay, that's actually a really easy question and really hard exactly to say. So I just wanted to be a professional sportsman when I was younger. But I broke my back and had to have spinal surgery when I was 18. So I had a very clear awakening that suddenly I was no longer invincible, when obviously as a testosterone-filled 18-year-old, you are invincible to the world. Blah, blah, wind forward a couple of years. I was working, just doing a mundane day job, which I didn't really enjoy. And I had loads of problems with my back. And then literally my body just fell apart. And that was it. I was laid on the bed, on the floor, because I couldn't get into a bed. And I had to crawl hands and knees to the bathroom and to the kitchen. And I lived like that for about 2 years. So basically the doctors at the time looked at my x-rays after my surgery. They did the usual, well, don't really know what's going on. Here's a load of painkillers. Here's loads of Valium. Go home, make yourself comfortable. You're probably going to be in a wheelchair by the time you're 30. So that was when I was like 20, 21, that happened. So I sulked for a couple of weeks and thought, oh my God, how could this happen to me? And then I thought, no, stop that. And I laid in bed and I figured out how to fix myself. So that's how it began. But then looking back even further, when I was a little kid, I could always get rid of my mother's headaches and back pain. So I had that, and then after I just sort of figured out how to fix myself, I decided I wanted to work as a healer and I wanted to fix other people. And it was quite a very, very, very clear epiphany that that's what I was put on the planet to do, and I was going to do it. So then I had to figure out, to be perfectly honest, how to monetize it. So how I could work as a healer, but still earn enough money to live. Walk that tightrope of sort of like being a healer. I wanted to call myself a healer, but then being open to almost like a mainstream audience, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I started working as a massage. I went to study massage all the time, just like channeling energies and working with energies inside the body, with the main theory being that you could not fix the physical without adjusting the metaphysical. Similarly, that I didn't believe just working on the metaphysical, you could fix the physical, working on that, and therefore you had to combine the two together.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my ethos, and that was where the journey began.
Yeah, no, the moment I saw you, I did read what you said, but I felt like there's a kindred spirit in the path, and sometimes people discover it because they go through, life brings them some major trauma, and they have to figure out what they're going to do, and that accelerates that path to both to healing and also like to recognizing, because on one level we're healers, but really everyone self-heals.
Yeah, I don't heal anyone. Yeah, I don't believe I heal anyone. I believe I give the people a nudge so they can fix themselves, because everyone has the ability to sort themselves out, to fix themselves. Yeah. And sometimes you just need to give them a nudge.
Yeah, it's like the vital energy is there, right? So it's like a facilitator of what's already present,
100%. It's like the same way as like Bowen works, is you activate a neurological response into the body, which basically tells the body how to fix itself, and then it sorts itself out. Actually, we're just there to put markers into the body to allow the body to then recognize, oh, there is an issue here, I better go and sort it out, rather than, everyone comes, oh, you can fix me. No, I can't. I can encourage your body to fix itself.
Yeah.
If you give it the right diet, you give it the right breathing techniques, you give it the right hydration, you give it some time and space as well. And it will sort itself out if you do those things. So if you come and see me and expect me to do a couple of treatments and then 5 minutes later you're going to be back in the gym doing the same thing, it's not going to work, because you're not giving your body the space.
Yeah, to do what it needs to do. Totally. So you're in the write-up you gave, you talk about the assessment, and I'm curious if you could expand a little bit more on what that is.
Are you sure you want to go down that rabbit hole?
Yeah, because I'll make it short. I have a few questions.
Okay. So I have real issues with the way Bowen is taught and practiced.
Yep.
In all honesty, I mean, Tom Bowen was obviously an amazing practitioner, and he saw a lot of people a day. About 60 people a day, from what I understand from Romney. So that's like 30 people in the morning, 30 people in the evening. And if you think he's going to do the stoppers and then bugger off and leave it 2 minutes, then come back and do more and continue that way and spend an hour treating each people, there's no way you're going to see that number of people. And from my initial jaunt into Bowen, so I got into Bowen because I was massaging people. I kept massaging people, and I kept finding myself working these same areas. And people kept talking about Bowen, and it kept, as it does, coming into my vision and into my peripheral. So I got a book, actually one from John Wilkes, and I read that, and I went, oh, this is where I'm working, all these places. That's interesting. I'm going to go and learn this technique and amalgamate it into my treatments, because that's just generally the way I had always worked. I had learned something and then added it in with my little bit of flavor. Sure. So it soon became apparent that actually this was giving like really, really good results a lot quicker. Also, it was easier on my body, and the reality is that I was getting older. I've been massaging for like close to sort of 15, 20 years, and you can only do so many massages a week. You can only do so many treatments a week. And then I did a few other courses because things just weren't making sense to me. It wasn't quite right. It was great. It was a great skeleton, but it wasn't right. And then I did a course with Alison McLaughlin, which the most important thing it did was gave me permission to actually say, you can look elsewhere. There are other ways of doing this. Because he talked about a different way of doing things. Then I did the workshops with Graham Pennington, and no, I didn't. I tried to do a workshop with Graham Pennington, but But I contacted him like 2 weeks after he left the UK, which was not the best. Okay, so then I got his book and I read his book, and it was like, that's a light bulb moment. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So straight away I started practicing that way without doing the workshops, because it just made sense. And
Mm-hmm.
it was like, well, okay, this is easy. And I understood the methods of assessment, made sense. And then I did the workshops with Penno, and then he very graciously, or maybe in a flyaway flippant comment, said, hey, if you ever want to come over to Australia, you can come and sort of watch me in clinic, which I then sent him an email and said, hey, Penno, can I come to Australia? And he's like, yeah, mate. So he very graciously put me up in his house, and I followed him around the clinic. And then I spent a day with Romney as well in his clinic, watching him, talking to him. And like, you can watch people do Bowen, and it's like watching someone play the guitar. And then you watch Romney do Bowen, and it's like watching someone playing the harp. Mm-hmm. It's completely different the way it works. Mm-hmm. And to talk to him and to get the insight into how Tom worked, mm-hmm. was very different. And then I was very lucky to be invited with Penno and Romney and a few other like standout therapists, mm-hmm. to a hotel in Croatia, where we literally just spent a week talking Bowen and going through everything that Tom did, and looking at the way Romney works, looking at the way Graham works, looking at the way we all work, mm-hmm. and putting it together. And you know, it was very clear that, you know, it's elongated, and there's a lot of fluff when it doesn't need to be. If you can clearly analyze where the primary restrictions are within the body, and you can go and you can treat them, and you can change the body, and you can sort it out, then mm-hmm. you get very fast results, and people don't need to be on the couch more than 15 minutes.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting. No, I'm glad you're sharing that, because my original training in Bowen was with Botech, right? So with Aussie and that, and so there, you know, there's a methodology that is a bit of a cookbook, and you know, but then being who I am and my intuitive nature and my background, understanding Chinese medicine, understanding the world of homeopathy, and you know, how the body is only just a piece of the whole big puzzle. I ended up approaching Bowen therapy myself very differently than how I was taught it, which was very taboo. So I lost my teaching position, which is fine, because, you know, one thing opens up the door for everything else. And then I did follow all the people that you're mentioning, and Ron, Phelan is, you know, very much in touch with me, because he used to travel to North America more easily. And so, that's the thing, is that there's always pieces and parts, but whatever you know as a background will hone in your skills much faster. Right, like, you know, that's how it is, right? You know, so that's why I forgot who it was now. Says that it was one of the Bowen therapists. I think he was a chiropractor, but he said it is an endlessly evolving art, and it is like all art. You know, it cannot be standing still. And you know, maybe the entrance for some people is the simple thing, because sure, it works, you know, to a point. But if you want to get insane results, you've got to expand. You got to bring in everything that, you know, that's out there that, you know. So I'm thrilled you're doing this. This is great.
You've got to know exactly where you're aiming the treatment, and you have to be able to read the body. You have to read the person in front of you. And there's a myriad of skills, and if you think you're just going to do it one way, then you're a fool, I believe. And it's not paint by numbers and procedure, because we're not all textbook, we're all different, and therefore it has to flow differently. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe the more I work, the better I get at reading the body. And also kind of like following the pathways of restrictions. Like sometimes you have to release the neck, you have to do the jaw, to take the tension off another bit of the body to release that. So you're kind of doing everything backwards, because you need to figure out almost like the flow of restriction within the body, because you can release one area of the body a lot better when you've taken all primary restrictions that are attached to it away. Otherwise you can just waste a load of time trying to release an area that's being held tight by everywhere else. But then there's many other sort of nuances, sort of metaphysical work, I think, that go with it, and that as you touched on the TCM, like moving the chi around the body as well, and moving, also like working on the sort of chi and the prana on the outside of the body is really important. And I love it. I love doing that. Just get completely lost in it. It's absolutely great.
Yeah. And it's funny because I'm so glad to find a Bowen therapist with experience, and you treat it, at least I think it was with massage, like pretty famous people. You've had lots of experience out there, right? Even I think the royals, right? That in your write-up. Yeah. So it's really great to somebody who's actually been around the block, talking about something larger than what it appears on one level. And I find that there's another dimension to this work that I feel is often missed, not so much by the main practitioners who do it, but I think we forget the mind-body connection. People are in Bowen, when you're reading the body, you're reading the person. But when the person speaks about their story and what's going on for them, you're picking up other clues. Because totally. we're one totality. And so one of the things I've been doing with my college is teaching how to listen literally to your patient and therefore to your body, because I think that's an angle that isn't emphasized enough unless you're born with it, or you realize you were a healer, and I'm putting that under brackets, but you had a capacity to connect with your mom that allowed her to receive a healing that, no drugs or other things could reach, so I think there's definitely more. And I think we're starting this incredible era now where I see Bowen expanding massively on that level. I don't know maybe I'm just over enthusiastic.
No, I do. I mean, I honestly, I've had loads of treatments over my time for my back, and I've trained in a lot of modalities, and I can do a lot of work, but I haven't found anything that's got the capacity to change people so rapidly, nor, if applied correctly and properly, the ability to be able to read and understand an asymptomatic body. So I find it's a pleasure to treat the maintenance people, because they come, I'm fine, I feel great, I'm still doing really good, it's wonderful, Phil, yeah, my back hasn't been hurting at all, and get them on the couch and go, okay, I see where the problem is here. And yet, so I'm not looking for an area of pain to treat. Like 95% of therapists in the world, they go, you go, oh, my neck hurts, they look to treat your neck, shoulder, blah, blah, as you know, like whether it's chiropractic, osteopathy, physio, doctor. But with Bowen and with the assessment-led sort of techniques of Bowen, you can look at it and go, oh, actually, you've actually got a problem in your jaw here, then that's throwing all the lines of tension out, which is throwing your pelvis out, throwing your lower back out. You're going, your sciatica might come back if we don't sort this out. So we'll sort it out, and lo and behold, another 6 weeks, they're great. And to be able to do that is amazing. And it's probably why, I'm sure you did as well when you were in practice, why you get such amazing feedback from all the people that no one could help. Because they've gone to everyone. And that's the thing, is like, I still seem to be the last resort for a lot of people, because they have tried everything else first, and they wait until Uncle Jack tells them about this guy. And the majority of people phone up and go, oh, I've been told to see Phil. So do you know what I do? I haven't got a clue, but so-and-so said you're amazing, I've got to see you. and they don't know. And that's what I'm really trying to get out, is this sort of like real high quality of treatment that is out there. Hence I started a school to teach it.
Okay.
To teach it from assessment up. So I teach the assessment.
Oh, fantastic.
As the ground rule. So the ground is teaching assessment, is reading the body. Then you learn all the Bowen moves. Then you learn how to cherry pick the Bowen moves for the assessments that you've picked up, and the tactile recognition of the tissues, and as you say, like reading the body. So like completely opposite to the protocol based sort of paint by numbers thing. And because I've got this desire to change it, because I was fed up of people coming to see me who said, I've had Bowen, it's useless. It doesn't do anything. I've had it before, it didn't do anything for me. And I treat them and go, oh, that's nothing like what I've had before. You know, it's the same. It's like when I was watched Romney work, and he's treating people in like 7-8 minutes, and you're seeing him and you're like, I kind of recognize it as Bowen. And then you watch Penno work and you see the way he works, and he's like, everyone's gone in like 10-15 minutes, and you know it's Bowen, but it's not. But it's so clear, it's so focused, and it is if we have a precise target and we know where we're aiming, we can hit it and the body changes, rather than the sort of the protocol thing I almost find as a bit of a sort of scattergun 12 ball. Well, if we shoot everywhere, hopefully one of them will hit. If it doesn't, then we'll shoot somewhere else next time, and hopefully that will hit. I think some therapists are good and they can see it and they can figure out what needs to go, and then there's a lot of, it's just like almost, I had one guy who came to follow me around the clinic because he'd heard, he said he's treating Bowen, and he said, thing is, I just feel I'm getting lucky now and again, I don't really know what I'm doing. Which is quite savvy for like I think he's like 27, 28-year-old guy. So it's like really interesting to have him follow around the clinic and him just go, oh, okay, I like this and this. And it's just like, read Penno's book.
So I was going to say because when I talked to Romney, and I actually had him work on me, this was in Chicago when he came, it is different, like but it's same-ish. But the basics, what we call the basics, at least in the old school, it is more like just an assessment of the whole body. It's getting familiar. That's how I teach it anyways. I just say that then you know what the field is. I have seen, patients of mine and clients who have learned that, understanding the context, and my context is much larger than when it's taught simply as a physical modality, because I put the context of the whole person. I have seen lots of changes with that. And, and so I feel that's important to know, that at least any person, a lay person, a person without training, can help others with something so simple. Manon Bolliger here, and I want to thank you for taking actionable steps towards engaging your healing journey and helping others discover their path by watching, sharing, subscribing, and reviewing these podcasts. Every review and share helps spread the word, these different perspectives and choices and options for healing. And to thank you, I'd like to invite you to sign up to my free 7-sequence email tips on health and healing for everyday life. You can go to healerscafe.com tips. Thanks so much. And the more the more, if you understand Chinese medicine, if you understand meridian lines, if you understand how fascia works, if you get the background of, and I was going to say, what are the assessment schools that informs your assessment technique? Like, how are you, because if I use chiropractic one, which we've been trained in, you know, it wouldn't really help that much.
Okay, so obviously I've done loads throughout my time, but
Yeah.
generally I use like Graham's method of
Yeah.
assessing the dural jag, so assessing the tension within the central nervous system, because the central nervous system controls everything.
Yeah.
Whether it's an organ not functioning or a muscle that's too tight. People come in and go, I trained too much and I hurt my leg, and so now my quad's big. Well, no, actually your quad's tight if you break it down, because somewhere there's a muscle telling it to be tight. Sorry, a nerve telling it to be tight.
Right.
And that central nervous system controls everything. So within that response of literally dorsiflexing feet to stress the membranes around the spine, to irritate the dura, to when you create that irritation, creates an irritation of tissues, which basically hoiks one side up, makes one leg appear shorter than the other. You can assess through doing that. And then, so the goal is no irritation to the dura mater, so no irritation to the central nervous system, which then allows the body to sit straight, everything to function as it should. And then the body generally facilitates its own healing. So there's that. And then, as you sort of brilliantly sort of mentioned earlier, the first part of body work that I teach when I teach the course. So it's like all the back work. So I literally do, the bottom stoppers, or what you would call BRM 1, 2, 1 and 2.
Or AIM. I actually call them AIM, autonomic integration moves.
Well, I just call them the assessment. I just call it back of body assessment.
Yeah.
And then when you do the moves over, primarily your moves are twofold. First fold is their diagnostic.
Yeah.
And then if the tissue feels too tight, you then change your mental emphasis on the move and your intention to then make it a therapeutic move, which will release the tissues. So basically, it's almost like you skirt through everything, so you're feeling the whole body. Oh, that's a bit tight, so we'll really work on that. That's a bit tight, and then you create this mental map of where the tight areas are within the body, and then that builds up the clues to what's going on within everything when you add it add it into assessment as well. So you put the assessment is the visual assessment of the dural drag and the restrictions within the membrane, and then the tactile assessment of actually what you feel under your fingers, and having that ability to feel what is too tight, what is too loose, what's just right.
So what is your feeling or your experience because to me they're all inputs that are wonderful, but Pennington's focus on the dura and also the tailbone, the coccyx, compared to Ron's primary understanding of the TMJ. Like, how do you see, because I know they've discussed it many times, what is your experience working with that, or do you use that?
Yeah, I do. I find basically, first and foremost, they're lover brothers.
Yes.
So the lover brother connection, the neurological connection of one onto the other. So if you have an issue in one, you're going to have a compensatory issue or a secondary issue in the other. Yeah. So I don't really think you can treat one without treating the other.
So I agree. I meant more assessment wise. Like in your assessment, do you assess all things coccyx?
I assess all things because I assess all things, but primarily if my assessment shows up there is an issue within the upper dural connections, so whether it be the TMJ or the scalenes or the sternocleidomastoid mastoid, or even like the subocciput, if there's an issue within that upper dura, that takes priority. That has to be cleared first to allow you to get a clear read of what happens, because often you can have a screening process that says, hold on, there's a problem in the bottom and there's a problem in the top. So you've got something in the lower durals, the bottom and the back, and something in the top. You have to sort the top out first to allow you to get a clear reading in what happens at the bottom. But I believe you have to treat both. You can't, I don't, and if quite often I will have to work on the lower back because nothing shows up in the neck and the jaw and it doesn't even feel tight, and then you can release coccyx deviation, and suddenly the pterygoids on one side go rock hard and everything goes really tight, because like literally one pattern is just released and boom, another one's shown straight away.
Yeah.
So I believe you have to do it all. I think there's a holistic thing that you have to do it all. And that's why I said earlier is getting the order right, because you have, if you don't get the order of releasing tissues right, you send someone off half cocked. You know?
It just doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like half released and the other half is still there.
Yeah. Anyway, it's so much fun talking about Bowen. So tell us something that you have found that you have been surprised that could heal. Like, I mean, I know there's miracles every day. I mean, I call them miracles because I'm always amazed, but what is something that you did not think could be touched,
Too many.
Okay, well,
honestly, there's too many. There was a lady, actually probably 3-4 weeks ago, who I saw, and she said she's quite elderly and she smokes like a chimney. So in my experience, usually when people smoke, it's really, really bad. And she had full lock-on trigger finger, and really bad RSI. And I've treated it before and successfully, and it's not a problem. It just is really, really slow. And that, like, one treatment, she came back, I went, "You're a miracle worker, it's gone." So, and I know it's just a little trigger finger, but usually in my experience, because that tendon was so rigid, it was so thick, and that all the way up the arm, for it to go so quickly was phenomenal. I mean, I've had like literally I'm probably not allowed to say it these days, but a chronic asthmatic who has like asthma attacks weekly, usually once a month, ends up in hospital. 3 treatments, he's started surfing again and running, and is absolutely, cock a hoop. Life's totally changed. Early 60s. A mad nervous problem in a young girl where she couldn't walk and she lost the use of her legs, and just came back, 2 treatments, just back to normal, running around the playground again. Just so many different. So it's daily, and it's just like people with chronic back problems who don't have a life, and yet 4 or 5 treatments later they're fine, and it's like, my God, what a difference. I thought I was like that for the rest of my life. It's sometimes the most simple things that flabbergast me, but honestly I've had so many that I wouldn't really know. It's normal now. Whereas when I was doing massage, it'd be unthinkable. Now it's just normal. It's just every day.
It's so hard to get that across, to people, because when, I mean, I understand a day like that, and it's like, they know it, they feel it, and that's why so many times you get a referral from people directly. But for them to say, what is it you did, is challenging in words, like, or if they try to get their, not that I care, but to get their doctor on board, or to any of that, it's very challenging for people to explain, well, he or she barely touched me, and and then 20 years of pain, and I went to the Mayo Clinic and it's gone, and it's like, it seems unthinkable, but it's like, that's the beauty of our body. If we can tap into it, literally, there's no reason why it can't heal. I mean, look at your broken back.
Precisely, the body can sort itself out if it's given the right input, and that's how I describe to people what I do. I always say, I swear quite a lot. So I believe in Einstein's saying that he said, if you can't explain something simply enough, you don't understand it well enough. And I truly believe in that. So I don't have a problem explaining to people what I do. I think I do a pretty good job at that. And generally, I'll say to them, well, do you know what I do? I haven't got a clue what you do. I say, okay, right. So first of all, I'm going to assess you to figure out what's going on in your body. I tell them, blah, blah, blah. And I if they want to know how, I'll explain how I assess them and the reasoning behind it. I said, then I'll do these little moves. I said, no, these moves will, well, excuse my French, they appear to do fuck all. But what they actually do is they fire up nerve endings within your body that then tells your body how we want it to change, because your body will change itself. So we'll do all these moves. And then when I feel the body starts to change, because you can, when you're attuned, as soon as you can feel the kick in the body and it's like it's starting to change, that's the time you give it a gap, give it some time. So I could literally, you know, work on someone's back, turn them over, do their neck, do their jaw, and then I'll feel it change. Or it might be like just by doing the lower blockers, just 2 moves, and I can feel it change. But I'll do the moves, feel it change. I said, right, now I'll just give your body a couple of minutes, because then it's got time to change. It's like giving it new programming.
Right.
Give programming, right now it's installing. And then I'll come back and continue. And when we've got the body into the place of where your nervous system's not being interfered with and not being restricted, then you're good to go, and we'll see you the week after.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe you can explain to people really easily. But then you have people like my wife who really helps and says, you don't do any work, just walk around, flick people.
It's what? Sorry?
My wife just says, I walk around flicking people.
Yeah, I was looking for an easier explanation, just like that, actually.
Yeah, walk around flicking people. But I mean, I believe if you speak to people in plain English and you don't try and baffle them, you can explain it and they'll understand.
Yeah.
And then as you progress with your treatment and you progress with the client, then you kind of like add all the layers, and you can explain how it affects the fascia, and then you can explain how it affects, you know, the muscles, the ligaments, the tendons, how, you know, you can use simple analogies. Like I use the suspension bridge analogy for the skeleton. I say the skeleton's a suspension bridge.
Yeah.
You know, in a chiropractor, an osteopath to try and crack the deck of the bridge, which is your skeleton, back into place, where I adjust all the cables, which is all the soft tissue. And if you adjust the cables, then you'll straighten the deck of the bridge up, or a bike wheel and spokes and bike wheel. It's the same analogy. You know, if you can use simple analogies that people understand, then they kind of get it. And most people go, oh yeah, it's common sense actually, isn't it? Yeah. I can understand why you've treated my neck to do my shoulder now. It's like, well, yeah.
No, that's a good one. I like the bridge one. Yeah, I use the spine, and I just say, well, you know, we kind of do the opposite of what chiropractors do. we relax it, but we relax the nervous system that relaxes the muscles, that allows the bones to go back into the right positioning. You know, and even that it's simple enough. You know. I mean, there's more nuance to it, of course, but like you said, in time, you can always get there. Okay, my last question to you. So, there's too much sun in here. It's not usually a BC problem. At least that's what we tell tourists, so that not too many people
keep them away.
Exactly. It's very sunny. Have you had any experience with the people who have had some of the neurological issues that have come in the last year and a half or so? I have not had any, because I'm not in practice. I'm just very curious.
A lot. Yeah, a lot. There's been a lot in the last year or so. What I've really noticed is a lot of people who have had ongoing health problems which were under control have come back up to the surface and are no longer under control, and like all at once. So I've definitely seen that. I've seen massive rises in anxiety as well, which is terrifying, especially in little people and kids. What's happened to kids' mental health is
unbelievable,
disgusting. Considering, you know, how they didn't have to be affected by anything. But yeah, I have seen an awful lot, but also treat what you find. You know, get them on the couch, treat what you find. And often you get, you know, really good results. And sometimes, you know, maybe these things happen for a reason. and maybe things are shook up and be made worse to allow you to get a handle on them and help things out of the way. But there's been actually a real scary increase of real sort of horrid illnesses. And what I've really noticed is a lot of my more senior patients that are really vital and strong, and you just thought they just withered so rapidly. And suddenly they're 15-20 years older in appearance in the space of 18 months, and you just thought, oh my god, how's this happened? And it's not one, it's the majority of them. They're all just like, there's so many other health problems coming up, and it's kind of,
well, I mean, the ongoing research that is coming definitely is showing a 1,000-fold increase in cancers and autoimmune diseases, like so many other things. But
strokes and heart attacks as well.
Pardon me?
The strokes and heart attacks.
Oh yeah, but those, unfortunately, they may not make it to your office, right?
I know,
but you would. This is it's. I have a lot of hope generally in when people come in with so-called incurable conditions, whether it's MS, all that. I don't see it that way, and I've seen that people the body can heal. But I get a little confused, I think, when I know that part of what has gone into people, the toxins, the whole, now that we have access to what's actually in here, I see it's so toxic. Can the body still get rid of all this, And I guess that's the piece I want to hear, that it can, because I no longer have the pleasure of helping people and seeing it for myself, And what's interesting is that the medical establishment and some of the most amazing doctors that have spoken out, that have lost their license and all of this, because of their training, they're not seeing many ways out of this. It is very doom and gloom. And I just can't help with something like Bowen or, homeopathy, or these sort of therapies that already have unbelievable results. Surely they can accelerate the cleansing pathways, the detox, all the things that are necessary. At least this is what I would like to know is possible.
Yeah, I think there has to be an awful lot involved. I think people, A, have to accept it, B, have to want to change it. And then I think in order to change it, it's totally possible, but it requires the want to, the will to, and then, there's environmental factors that have to change. You can change your practices of, what you consume, the food you eat, the water you eat. And a lot of what we consider as a healthy diet is not healthy for us. And a lot of people think they're eating really healthy when in fact they're not helping themselves at all. So that's a whole different question to get into. But then also you can look at a lot of, the sort of the breathing techniques and the way to sort of vitalize your chi and your prana. And it's, you can do amazing things and change your body completely if you want to. I mean, just ask any Wim Hof practitioner. I mean, I'm not, so don't ask me. But there's people out there who just do, from whatever practice I truly believe that is right for them, and that they really
align with,
use the intention, whether it's yoga or qigong or cold water swimming, or just breathing, and having, eating healthy stuff, putting good stuff into your body, whether it's therapies as well as, your fuel in your body as well. You can change yourself if you want to, but if you don't want to, and if, more importantly, you don't believe the reasoning behind it,
Yeah.
you don't see the big picture, I don't believe you can move forward. But I've treated enough people who have, you know, they said that they did certain things in the last few months that were a mistake, and they've been ill ever since, and yet, you know, they've moved forward and we've got really good results. But it's not, it's their body, and they have to put more than my input into it. I can be part of a puzzle, as like any healer can be, but as you know, if you want to fix yourself, you've got to want to fix yourself.
Yeah.
You can't just like push it all off to someone else.
No,
and say,
no,
do it for me. You know?
Yeah.
It's just, doesn't work like that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to leave this. I think I'll leave those last words to you, because I think it really is. There's got to be the will. There's got to be the taking responsibility.
Yeah, it does.
You know,
it does. There has to be the desire to change your life, and it doesn't matter if you're giving up smoking, you're getting fit. You know, it doesn't matter what the desire to change is.
Yeah.
But if you want to change, you can change and change your life. If you want to sit back and be ambivalent about it, no one's going to come up, wave a magic wand and change your life for you.
Yeah, or another pill.
Yeah, we'll have another pill.
Anyway, so thank you so much, and I know it's really late for you, but I really appreciate our time together.
No worries. Thanks for the chat.
Thank you for joining us at the Healers Café with Manon Bolliger. Continue your healing journey by visiting thehealerscafe.com and her website, and discover how to listen to your body and reboot for optimal health.